Hello everybody, Nightmare, back again with another video. Today we're doing something different for the channel, my first ever series video. In this series, I'm going to be discussing my thoughts on why and how I think the monsters of Little Nightmares made their way into the nowhere. Before we get started, obvious spoiler warning for all Little Nightmares media, including the comics and the podcast series The Sounds of Nightmares. Without further ado, let's get started. So I believe there are multiple ways the monsters of the nowhere made it to where they are. Let's get to my first way I believe the monsters could have gotten there. So to explain, let's take a random monster like the Chishu for example. If the Chishu was in a real nightmare, like the ones we have, that means she would represent a person you've seen before in real life. Because it's physically impossible to see someone you've never seen in real life in a dream. Your brain isn't able to create a new face while your body is asleep. You don't realize it, but every single face you see in your dreams is from someone you've seen at some point in the real world. So, in Little Nightmares, it's not confirmed if any of what I just talked about applies to the nowhere. The monsters could also just be adults brought into the nowhere by the ferrymen and twisted and corrupted into monsters. Well, would you believe me if I told you it was both? You probably won't, but let me share my thoughts and maybe change your mind. So the kids could be just dreaming these monsters into existence like in real life. I'm not trying to say the nowhere is like in real life nightmares, but there are going to be some similarities since the games legit have the word nightmare in them. Anyway, as I was saying, these kids may just be dreaming these monsters into existence. Or maybe the ferryman is duplicating humans from the county and putting twisted copies of them into the nowhere. I know it sounds crazy, but if this is true, it can only apply to the people who have abused or infected children. This is basically confirmed in the Sounds of Nightmares. If you haven't given it a listen, then what are you doing then? Another thing confirmed in the Sounds of Nightmares is that only the children with trauma can enter the nowhere. An example is Noon from the Sounds of Nightmares. Another example of the monsters being brought into the nowhere would work with Otto, also from the Sounds of Nightmares. A fan theory suggests that Otto could be the Doctor, which I disagree with, but I'm using it for my example. So, if Otto was brought into the nowhere for cruelty to kids, he would become a monster. This is basically confirmed, but I still think there are examples of both ways monsters could get into the nowhere. So, to add on to the kids dreaming them into existence part, in an interview, I believe someone who worked on Little Nightmares was asked who built the signal tower. Then their answer was, no, it doesn't work like that. Or something like that. I haven't actually seen or heard it, but if that's true, that means the kids, just like IRL, are dreaming these places into existence, and all the kids' dreams have formed what now is the nowhere. This could also apply with the monsters too. Have I convinced you yet? If not, I do have more, so stay tuned. I think a certain monster is a perfect example of being brought into the nowhere. The monster I'm talking about is the janitor. There's a very specific reason I picked the janitor for this example. Some of you may already know this, but the janitor's name is Roger. If you look on his chest, he has a name tag that says Roger. This is a very rare case of seeing English text in the nowhere, let alone on a monster. Actually, there's no other monster that we know of so far in the nowhere that has a name besides Roger. If we take this into IRL logic, it would be nearly impossible to read in a dream, so Roger was most likely brought into the nowhere. If you think about it, it makes no sense for any other option. If you want to prove me wrong, go ahead in the comments below. Okay, so this part is more of a stretch, but it seems Roger kind of has a personality. What I'm talking about is with the TV. He seems to have a connection to the TV woman, aka what fans call her Veronica, but this can easily be disproved by the fact he still listens to every other channel, so this is probably the cause of the signal tower. Okay, moving on. Now I'm going to talk about a third way I think these monsters have made it to the nowhere. This has to do with the children of the nowhere. So, for a quick example, I'm pretty sure we all know Six turns into Monster Six at the end of Little Nightmares 2. So what happens to Six in the signal tower proves it can corrupt children, not only adults. So I think some monsters are the corrupted remains of kids that were stuck in the nowhere and couldn't get out. This is what could possibly happen to Lone Alone in the end of Little Nightmares 3. But we'll have to wait a little longer for that. Tell me if you'll agree or disagree on the ways I think the monsters got into the nowhere in the comments below. If you do you believe all the reasons? And if you don't, please let me know in the comments why. I'll read all of them, unless this video blows up and gets like 1K comments. But if you have any flaws or anything you didn't like, please put it in the comments below so I can make the next theory better. And if you do want more, then comment that down below too, and I will make more theories if my brain cells work better next time. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today's theory, guys. Peace out, see you in the next one. Yeah, bye.